Sternberg says, kitsch isn't limited to a few categories or examples. It's long ago taken over the world. If Martians were to take a cool look at the world, they might well rename it kitsch. Ouch.
How would Martians have a concept of kitsch to name planet Earth kitsch? It's like, oh, they will come here with their avant-garde prejudices and high-class values and judge Earth as being too low-class. What is this claim?
I know. Well, because according to Greenberg, they would have had to reach the industrial point of, this kind of moment of capitalism in which we find ourselves. And so
in order for them to have like space travel, like they would have to have gone through the Industrial Revolution.
Adorno says that nowadays in Hollywood, and nowadays for him is middle of the 20th century, so this is quite dated at this point, but I think it applies to today. Most commercial films are just previews for other films, right? Like you can think about the franchising of the Marvel movies or that type of thing. It's just like all a preview for another film or with these
crossovers.
Weird internal rests. Yeah. And really, quite kitschy in a lot of respects. But Adorno says that he thinks that the aspect of film that resists kitsch is that of montage. So what distinguishes film from other art forms for philosophers is that films operate based on edited sequences that are mashed together. That is the montage form. He says montage allows film, this is from his essay, Transparencies on Film. Montage allows film to be a representational art form rather than mere kitsch or documentary.
It's similar but different to the argument about montage that we find in Benjamin, where he says that what's important about film is precisely the montage because you see the cuts, right?
Yeah.
Like where you see your perception of the screen being manipulated by the editor or by the director, sorry. And in noticing those cuts, you become aware of the fact that experience is curated for you, not just in the film, but also in real life. So it actually precipitates a moment of critical thought where you then start looking for the montage in real life, right? Where are the cuts?
Yeah.
Where am I being manipulated in some way and expected to experience things as if they were natural?
That harkens back to this notion of the critical distance that pretty much every philosopher that we talked about today, or critic in the case of Greenberg, agreed on, which is that genuine art elicits a sense of distance from the object, whereas kitsch invites a illusory sense of immediacy.
Yeah, immediate, not just immediacy, but immediate gratification, because it's something that makes you just feel good right away. Whereas arguably one of the things that art should do is it should upset you or unsettle you, because sometimes it's that negative affect that can be the engine for critical thinking.
Healing, too, has its own time. And I actually think this is a different kind of romantic waiting, but I think about waiting to recover, whether it's a physical injury or, say, a breakup, a heartbreak, right? To some extent, time is the only way for that to happen, and waiting it out, provided, going back to my obsession with leg work in the episode, which is kind of ironic because this is about your foot, provided that you have done what you can to ensure that healing. So in your case, it was going to the doctor and getting a boot, right?
And so now I'm trying to figure out, like, do I have a future playing sports at the level that I currently do? And normally I don't think about that, but right now, because I have the time and because my body draws attention to that, to its new limits, it does bring with it a new possibility, which is that I might have to reinvent myself, and that I might have to let go of my identity as an athlete and maybe fill my free time otherwise with other things that bring me joy.
And that seems like something that you can't wait to figure out. You have to actively
pursue.
Take on, that deliberation.
Yeah, I'm too much in the thick of it right now to really like have a clear sense of that, because at this moment, my only goal really is like get better so I can go to another volleyball tournament or another tennis tournament. But this is this is bad faith waiting. This is like fleeing from the actual work of waiting. A backlash has to be backlash against against progressive causes. It cannot be a single or isolated event. It has to be organized and repetitive, and it targets, again, those fundamental gains that a movement fought for.
if one of the main aims of the Me Too movement was to draw attention to the everyday nature of women's sexual violation, if we're thinking about that in terms of sexual assault, at least, Me Too did not change things. And so it would be hard to even see how there could be a quote backlash if that movement itself ended up not actually resulting in material gains for women.
The way in which it was conceived in the US made Me Too an inherently white woman kind of movement, because when you shift cultural settings, Me Too doesn't quite work in the same way. Women in other countries, in other cultures, might not have the same relationship to social media in the first place. And cultural norms about how to navigate questions of sexual abuse and sexual violence also might shift. So I know, for example, a number of Latinx and Chicana feminists raise concerns about this discourse of speak your truth in front of the world without taking into consideration the cultural framework that shapes certain women's experience of sexual abuse and its aftermath.
Well, for sure. And the woman who originated Me Too, Tarana Burke, started it as a movement to end sexual violence. And of course, the Black woman. And then the public face of Me Too becomes celebrities like Alyssa Milano. Of course, like everybody, not everybody, wish everybody. A lot of people know this already. A lot of people who are working in feminist theory are familiar with the fact that the Me Too movement, or started by Tarana Burke, got co-opted by Alyssa Milano and others. But I think that that's relevant to point out in the context that we're talking about, David, because I think Me Too originally started as an attempt to end sexual violence. It wasn't meant to be on the level of discourse, but then that's how it ended up somewhat playing out. I don't want to paint it with too broad a brush, but in the popular